Hi guys, this is Arif from TechShare. Today I am going to show you how can we create your deployment pipeline of your JSS application. Obviously you can use many different deployment pipelines, but today I am going to show you how can we create your JSS application first, and then you can create your deployment pipeline in Vercel platform. So what is Vercel? If you go here www.vercel.com, then you will see this at this website basically. So first of all, you need to register yourself. Once you register, then you can also be able to connect your GitHub repository to the Vercel platform. Once you connect your GitHub project to the Vercel, then you will be able to create your deployment pipeline. You will be able to deploy your project. So today for JSS JavaScript service application, well, I mean, why we are going to create use the Vercel, because Vercel can also handle quite efficiently the static pages of your Next.js application. So that's why I think okay, it will be better if we just simply use Vercel platform. Okay, so we'll do two things today. Number one, we are going to integrate our project to the Vercel so that we can, as soon as there are any changes to our GitHub repository to that project, Vercel will kick in and it will deploy our branch to with the changes. Number one. Number two, another thing we'll also do is when we'll have any publish to our items, so we'll do any changes to our items and we'll publish that item, then what we'll also do is we'll configure the Sitecore publish webhook to the Vercel, so that every time if you deploy any items, that basically means that you want your item to be able to publish as well. So this Vercel will kick in that scenario as well, and it will publish your item at the same time it will deploy. Okay, so this kind of thing. So we are going to take the help of Sitecore publish webhook API, and from there how can we configure the Vercel so that every time if you deploy anything and Vercel will kick in and deploy, that will also be covered by this today's video. So just bear with me. So now whatever the project I set up is quite easy. So let me show you this thing here. So I have created a very basic hello world kind of project in Sitecore JSS-next sort of template I used. So you'll see here, this is the application. Basically I named the application as a space X history app. So it has nothing, basically it has couple of pages. So let me show you the site first. So this is the sample, or you can say simple website I've created using my Next.js and JSS sort of application, and you have this home page where it has nothing but a title, header basically, and then some content. And then you also have another page, I said space X history, where I have used the GraphQL API to query some open GraphQL. So basically it is space X history endpoint, get the data and fill in here. And you will see here this is quite fast because this whole entire thing is persisted as a static page, or you can say I have used SSG here, static site generation feature of Next.js, and that's why it is just simply there. So our server really don't need to parse or need to process anything for that. It is already there as a sort of static resource. So as soon as you go there, it will kick in. So this is really fast. So this is simply, I'll show you how I did that. This is easy, but I will also create another page here, so maybe home and then about or something like this, and then we'll show you how can we actually deploy that changes, and instantly we'll get the changes here. All right, so here in the project, let me show you the project structure. So this is basically a simple project where if you open the data, then you will see the different route. So I have basically I have created this route, we call it space X, and here I have a simple component. This is space X block. So there are commands you can use to create your component, JSS scaffold, and I use this SpaceX block, and you will see here in the source we have the components, and also you will see that SpaceX blocks component is there already. Okay, I mean this is there, and what I did is basically this component I try to use a open sort of GraphQL endpoint to grab some data. So what I did basically here is I call that so I have created a small template, and if a name of the field is URL, through which we can get the, I mean you can set your GraphQL endpoint, and then we use this GraphQL client factory method, and we pass the URL to get the data, and based on that I have queried this GraphQL here, and then just simply return the object here. I mean this is basically pretty standard, but now once you have this thing, then you can definitely run this solution in your local. You will get it something like this. Let me show you in Experience Editor. So this is basically my application on-site deployed to a Sitecore instance, and here in the Experience Editor you'll see, oh no, sorry, this is the one, this home page. Let me open the home page, Experience Editor. Yeah, and then this is my home page, and I also have this SpaceX page as well. So in the home page basically nothing. This is pretty simple. I have two fields. One is this header, and another one is content, and here I also have SpaceX. Forget about these two things, but this is SpaceX. If you see here, if you open this Experience Editor, then you will also see it has also some contents basically. So pretty easy. I mean this is the header, and this is basically my sorry, I mean the contents of the GraphQL endpoint. So now in the Vercel side I have created already, I have registered myself, and I have connected this SpaceX history. So once you connect your repository, GitHub repository, then basically you will be able to deploy. You will be able to set up your deployment pipeline, which is basically pretty easy. You just need to follow the different steps. So once you set up the deployment pipeline, then what will happen is every time if you go and commit something here, if you push the data. So for example, let me show you. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna, in the SpaceX block, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to change something here. So let me say that okay, in the header value, whatever I am getting here, I'll also add here something called test. Okay, so I save that, and what I am doing now is I am going to commit these changes here. So I say added sample text, and then I commit this one. My GitHub repository is connected to my Vercel. So what it will do is basically it will first push the changes to the obviously our GitHub, and Vercel will kick in automatically based on this commit. So you will see here in the dashboard, if I refresh this dashboard, then you will see it says that this one, it was previously this color, but now it is yellow color, and it says that just now that the deployment is triggered. So what it will do, it will build basically, and it will deploy. So you see this is already started. So that will be controlled automatically by the Vercel platform. So it is already working as it needs based on the project type, and it is doing the registering all the different thing and everything. Okay, so this is number one. And for this basically you don't need nothing. What you need to do, you need to set up your Vercel account, and you need to connect it. As simple as this. Now the next thing I'm gonna show you now is how can you also trigger this deployment based on your publish webhook. So Sitecore introduced this very new thing. Why they introduced? I guess the main purpose of this is this Next.js feature. We call it SSG, static site generation. And based on this SSG feature, what you can do is basically you can create your static content in the deployment, in the build time. So that basically means is, so just think of a scenario that you are going to show some data, some content which would be static. So, and the main purpose of showing the static content basically is to gear up the performance. So you really want to show that content very quickly to the user. Maybe you have 10 products, you want to show it very quickly. So what you can do, you can actually create those content as a sort of in the CDN static content, and you don't need to process anything for that. So server will simply, your request will come and you will get it instantly from the CDN. You don't need to go to server to process that request, something like this. So that is very fast, but it has some drawback. How we are gonna update your content? So just think of a scenario that you have a content, you need to update that content. So you can go to Sitecore, you can modify the content, and now the challenge is that content is already produced sort of in a static way. So you need to update that static content. So how we are going to do that? You need to build the system, because the static content reproduced during the build time, which is basically sort of manual process. So what if we could introduce something like once we do some changes in our content and we publish that content through the Sitecore, can we trigger this deployment somehow? So we publish the item, right? And based on that, we want our Vercel deployment pipeline will trigger, and it will deploy that published content. Can we do that? So if we could do that, then that would be really great. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, what will happen once you trigger the deployment here in the Vercel platform, it will build your solution. Once it will build your solution, then what it will do is, since you already published your item, so the static content it will basically generate based on that item, and it will get the latest item, and it will generate the content for that particular latest deployed item, and you will get your content also updated accordingly. Let me show you. So this deployment has completed. You can see here, this is done, and this is all the static chunk and everything that it creates automatically. So now if you refresh your page, then you will see that basically welcome to Sitecore and test. This test automatically appears here. Actually not here, it was in SpaceX history. See here, so this is the one. This test appears successfully here. Now what we are gonna do is we are gonna change something. So we are not going to deploy, we are not going to change anything in our repository, but what we will do is we'll publish something through the Sitecore. So what we will do is basically you can go to your experience editor here, and then what I'll do is I'll change something here. So in the lorep ipsum, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another section here. So what I can say here is I can basically pull this one here, and I can say maybe I can say another section. I can select that one, I can bold it, and then I can save it, right? So I'm in my Sitecore instance now. Now what I'll do is I'll publish this content. So what I'll do is I'll go this home here, and then I'll basically publish this item. So now let me show you here first. I'll go my dashboard, and the dashboard, you can see these both are green sort of thing. So it is not doing nothing, it is doing nothing, it is not doing anything. And then what I'll do here is I'll trigger the publish. So this publish basically published my latest changes here. So you can see item updated on, right? And then let me see, automatically see this turns to green, and it kicks in already. So now you will see here this deployment is happening. Once the deployment is successful, then what we'll do is we are expecting basically is this is my published So this publish has an output, right? So this publish has an output. You can see the visit, and anytime you can see whatever it published. So once this deployment will be finished, we will do a refresh here basically, and not here in the home page. Here we'll do the refresh, and we want to see, let me refresh now. This is basically the earlier content. So deployment is still going on. So once the deployment will be completed, we'll refresh and we'll see whether we are getting this this extra content or not in our deployment site, deployed site, or you can say our main website. So let me see here, it is still working. After that, I'll show you how actually we did this connection between your so it is done. So now if I refresh, see here, so this is my, once the deployment is completed, you will see your latest thing automatically appearing here. So that basically proves that I never did any changes in my repository, but I just simply updated my item through the publish. And once you publish, then your deployment actually kicks in and it does all the necessary thing for you. Now question is, how can we do this kind of magic? So we can actually do this kind of magic through the Vercel, because Vercel has this facility. Through the Vercel you can also configure the webhook. So if you go your project, so let me go here, and then in the settings we have this Git where we have already connected our repository here. So by the way, I'm going to share this repository, and you will find this repository in my description of this video, and you can simply have a look. I mean, it is basically nothing. This repository is simply a very hello world kind of JSS application. Anyway, but more importantly, it has this deploy webhook section where you can create a webhook. So create an webhook means basically it will allow your application or any other application to call this endpoint and push some data. Basically call this endpoint to say, hey, can you trigger a deployment, something like this. So I have already created this deployment webhook. Once you have that on, you need to copy this one, and you need to go to your Sitecore, and you need to do the rest of the things. The Sitecore also has this thing enabled. So Sitecore, if you go to your Sitecore configuration, especially in the JavaScript services configuration, then you will see this is the configuration that we have: Sitecore JavaScript service, app service, publish webhook config. You need to enable this one. It was by default disabled, so you need to enable this one. Once you enable, then this is basically the configuration we have under that. And this URL, basically what you need to do, you already copied that one, you need to paste it here, that webhook. And then what basically Sitecore does for this is, internally when the publish end event occurs, so every time when the publish will be completed, Sitecore fires that publish end event, and that publish end event basically also trigger this particular this endpoint, whatever the webhook you are putting here, and it will basically inform them that, hey, I have completed my publish. And it also might do some other thing, but I am really not sure about that internal thing. But what I understand is it actually notify your third party API, or you can say webhook provider, to send some data, like, okay, do this thing kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, for that that's all. I mean, once you enable this configuration, put the URL, save this one, that's it. Your JSS is already configured to support the deployment through the publish webhook. I think that's all. And the last thing I'm gonna show you now is how. So look, I mean, the Vercel is working in a sandbox, or you can say in a production environment, in a cloud. Now your authoring site, my authoring site, is hosted here in my local host. This website is my local website, right? And then again, my JSS site, my local JSS site is basically this. So I have this SpaceX, well, yeah, that's the one. So this is SpaceX history app.dev.local. So this is my local site. So the important thing here is, when you deploy your JSS application to Vercel, and Vercel basically build your solution based on your GitHub repository. Now Vercel also needs to access your site. Vercel also needs to access your site. Why? Because when Vercel access your site, then Vercel can also, because this is all Sitecore related content, right? It is coming from Sitecore. This one, everything is Sitecore configured, and Sitecore is running in your local. So you deploy your content JSS application in Vercel. Now in the JSS application we have a environment file. If you already follow me, so we have this environment file, and environment file is the file where we have all the different information already provided. So now the very important one is Sitecore API host, right? The Sitecore API host is basically pointing to your host, JSS host, where you actually host your JSS application. So the interesting fact is, you see here, this is basically a ng-rock endpoint here. So what I did, because I needed to expose this endpoint, this is my localhost Sitecore host. This is my local Sitecore host endpoint where I have published, my JSS here. And now this endpoint, and also Vercel needs to access this endpoint to get your content, to read your content, and based on that it will also generate the static content. So that's why I needed to expose this endpoint to the cloud, so that other cloud provider can call me. Because right now if I use this kind of endpoint, next the Vercel will never be able to call this, because this is a local endpoint, not a cloud cloud endpoint. So for that, what I needed is, I needed to run the ng-rock. So you can actually do this kind of tunnel. So what I did is, basically you go and download ng-rock and basically execute this kind of, there are a lot of things you can do, but very basic thing is, you can simply tunnel your local. So I have a local, this is my local basically endpoint. I wanted this one to be available in the cloud. So that what I did basically through the ng-rock, and ng-rock give me this kind of URL, which is basically cloud friendly. So you can call this endpoint from any place of this world, and basically you will get my content, this website. So that I did, and I use this specific content to my environment file here. So in the Sitecore API host, instead of using my local endpoint, I am using this tunnel, or you can say public or cloud endpoint, so that Vercel can access my JSS hosted website. And then then also this is my public URL. So I also put this public URL to that Vercel URL. I think that's all. And then what I did is, basically I publish. Basically I committed all the changes, and then automatically the Vercel kicks in and publish based on whatever the settings I put in the environment file. And then it's taking care of everything through that. So let me show you here. So once this is my so if you click this one and see here, see, so it is what is happening currently is, this SpaceX history Vercel app, this is published in Vercel, and then when it tries to access different data, like this is title, and this is all different data that Sitecore exposes, it actually needs to call that host, Sitecore host endpoint, and this is configured in environment file to this one, and this one basically redirecting internally, so to my local one, and local one basically nothing but it gets the data from the Sitecore. So this one actually connected to my Sitecore authoring here, and it gets the data from there, and basically serving the data to my public Vercel website. Very cool, right? So similarly, if I click home, and then you will see the data is coming here, it is updating here. So it is basically internally calling and it is getting, and you will see the reflection here. So yeah, I think that was a very nice and very interesting sort of experiment that I made, and I really, I'm really happy that it works as expected. I was initially thinking it will not, but it turned out it's really easy. I mean, you can easily do that. So you don't need to do a lot of things. You just need to enable configuration. You just need to put, you have to make sure that your local settings, whatever you have, your Sitecore and everything, your JSS host, local host, is accessible from outside. So for that, I mean, you can either expose your sort of application to the cloud by enabling different host, or you can say maybe adding some domain or something like that. But if you introduce this ng-rock, that will actually give you a lot of facility to expose this kind of thing. So I think that's all for today. If you really want to ask any question about this one, you can actually Slack me. Well, you don't need to Slack me. You can actually you can message me in this video. I have my Twitter account as well. I'm going to share my Twitter in the description as well. You can follow me in the Twitter as well. And yeah, that's all. And you can also follow me in the LinkedIn if you want to. And yeah, that's all for today. Hopefully I'll catch you very soon with another video. Till then, bye bye and have a good night.